I want to take this time to send a special shout out to all the loyal supporters, friends, and subscribers of the Josh Lopez Wrestling Podcast. All we ever ask you guys is to leave a review, an honest review rating of the show on iTunes and Apple Podcasts. That's all we ask. And if you'd like to advertise with the Josh Lopez Wrestling Podcast, please send an email to joshlopezww94@gmail.com using the subject line advertising. Now it's time for episode 58 of the Josh Lopez Wrestling Podcast. Let's get it.
You know what I'm gonna do about it? You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna tweet my displeasure. That's right. I'm gonna jump on social media and I'm gonna tweet about it until my fingers bleed. I might even send an Instagram or a Vine. That's right. And on that tweet, and however many characters I get, I am going to threaten. That's right. If I don't get what I want, I'm going to riot. And if that doesn't work, then by God, me and my friend Mark, we're going to stop watching. That's right.
In the past, both of you guys have had your demons that you've battled. You seem focused and healthy now. Is it a struggle being on the road now and being back in this lifestyle?
For me, it's not. I mean, I think it was learning and accepting the whole fact that you age. Because I look back to whenever, I was finishing up my first run with WWE, 2009, 2010. I was like so hurt. I was so beat up. But like I kept working through stuff. Even though I was hurt and I was beat up and I should have taken time off. Because that was almost like the pride in you doing it. And I would go out and I would work the same every night, whether it was a pay-per-view or television or, a live event. And then just once I took time off, I addressed my issues and I got healthy physically, mentally, emotionally, across the board.
Temptation is obsolete to me. I mean, I've been there, done that, and I was one of the lucky ones, I survived it. I just look forward to going to work, and I look forward to going home, man, to see my family, because in the long run, the big picture, I'm doing this for them. There's no temptation to fall victim of addiction ever again.
Having kids, I think, did a lot for both of us, and that's kind of like what our focus is more than anything else now. I mean, we love doing this, I love coming to work, but when it's all said and done, I want to be here for my child forever, and I want to give him the best life possible.
Right on.
Help! Help! I'm going to have to train harder than I ever have in my entire life.
Destroys them all.
Lucha Underground Season 3 returns Wednesday at 8 p.m. on El Rey Network.
What's up? And welcome in to another edition of the Josh Lopez Wrestling Podcast. It's Wednesday, June 14th, 2017. It's Father's Week. It's Tupac Week. And we're here for another edition of the fastest rising pro wrestling podcast in the entire world. This is the Josh Lopez Wrestling Podcast with the student of the game of professional wrestling himself, Josh Lopez. Thank you guys for coming out and hanging out with yours truly. If this is your first time listening to this podcast, now I consider you a good brother or a good sister, depending on which particular human being I'm speaking to at this prior moment. If this is your first time listening to this podcast, again, thank you so much. It means the world to me. All I ask is to be respectful of my points of view, and at the same time, don't act like my opinions are the gospel at the same time. If you guys are supporters of what I do, it means the world to me. It really does mean a lot to me. But I always said this a lot, and I don't think a lot of podcasters do this enough, but at the end of the day, we're not all right about stuff that happens in professional wrestling. You guys don't always have to agree with stuff I have to say or disagree with everything I have to say either, though. Like, we all know that wrestling is subjective at the end of the day, but again, as the host of this podcast and been on a slew of other shows over the years, I think it's important to stick to my convictions and stay genuine with you guys. I think that's why you guys keep listening to the show and subscribing to the podcast and checking out the podcast and interviews on my YouTube channel. So again, if this is your first time listening to this podcast, this is a positive mental attitude zone. This show is not about popping blood vessels, about wins and loss records about professional wrestling. I mean, there's 100 other wrestling podcasts you can listen to when it comes that you want to listen to when it comes about booking, but that's not what this show is about. This show is about production. This show is about putting over the world of professional wrestling, and we got a lot to get into this week, man, because there's a lot of wrestling to talk about, as always. I'm going to start off the monologue this week talking about what I covered over the weekend in New Japan Pro Wrestling for the Dominion pay-per-view. I'm going to talk about the return of Lucha Underground and how much I enjoyed that show as well. I may sneak in some comments about Impact since they did their first show from Mumbai, India last week. After that, we'll get into my thoughts on this week's Raw. We'll talk about that from Lafayette, Louisiana, the return of The Beast. So we'll talk about that. And then we're going to close off this week's show with talking about SmackDown, because coming up this weekend, we got ourselves a SmackDown exclusive pay-per-view known as Money in the Bank. So I'll make predictions for that show as well. And we're going to have a lot of fun. There's a couple business stuff I need to get out of the way before we get things going today. You could follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Notorious Joshi. That's Joshie. So, at Notorious Joshi on Instagram and Twitter. Also, you could hit me up on Facebook, facebook.com/Josh Lopez Wrestling Podcast. You'll get a link to all the previous editions of this podcast on there as well. You can also check out the podcast on mindofcarnage.com. Shout out to Kate and the entire MLC family. Shout out to Adam and Sam Daly, of course, from Wrestling With. A couple other shouts. Shout out to everybody from the NAI network that I'm part of. Shout out to Matt and Rob, my cohorts from the Pipe Bomb with Meek McCool and Company. Yes! Shout out to them. Shout out to Brother Carter, the Obsolete Mule. You can find him on Twitter at Derico06. Shout out to everybody that's supporters of this show, what I do on Universal Chatter, or even the Bama Pipes. So that's a shout out, so to get that out of the way. You could subscribe to the podcast, obviously, on iTunes, Stitcher, Audio Boom, even my own personal YouTube channel. We all know about we all know about iTunes and their storage limits and stuff. So if you want to get every single previous edition of this particular podcast, you have to go to my YouTube channel. Just type in Josh Lopez Wrestling Podcast, and it'll direct you to the playlist of our previous editions. Yes. So we got a lot to get into this bad boy today, because like at the point I'm at right now, it's like my excitement for wrestling grows and grows each and every single week. Like, I feel like it's a personal challenge for me to come on here and give you my heart, give you my passion, give you my soul, and my other infatuation with the world of professional wrestling, because I think that's the reason why we love wrestling in the first place, right? Wrestling's our escape. Wrestling is our place to hide, I guess, from all the BS that we have to deal with our everyday lives. And professional wrestling's always been that outlet for me to be myself, actually. And wrestling will always be there for me, whether I get the opportunity to work in the business or not. That remains to be seen. But But at the end of the day, man, get to go back and do play-by-play articles on my new wrestling results blog page, prowrestlingresults.wordpress.com. Bookmark that right now. If you're a wrestling fan and just want to see what the results of the shows are without going through a gazillion ads on WrestleZone and all these meaningless copy and paste articles from the Wrestling News Observer, whatever they're calling it, F4W Online, just go to prowrestlingresults.wordpress.com. I don't have any rumors. I don't have any innuendos. I don't have any news. I didn't know in 2017 that wrestling couples arriving at arenas is news now. Or the fact that, hey, somebody put a tweet out. That makes it news. Like, I didn't know somebody congratulating somebody else's news. I don't know. That's weird. But the wrestling media is weird. And I think most of you that are smart and actually do pay attention to some of the rhetoric and BS that's spewed in the propaganda from the wrestling media world will understand what I'm talking about. So, monologue, opening thoughts, opening statements before we get to this week of WWE programming. I want to spend some time to talk about some outside Stamford, Connecticut programming. So, just to break things down and give you guys some context to where I was a couple years ago with doing articles like nonstop for Between the Ropes and WrestleZone, and get to let you guys know a little bit about my work ethic and what I stand for and what I believe in. And you know, I get misconceptions thrown around about me all the time. I'm just a WWE guy, I'm a shill, I'm this and that. I don't give any credit to other promotions, this and that. I'm suddenly intolerant now, which I don't believe to be true. I've always been remaining consistent with my points of view on the show since I've been doing the Pro Wrestling series back in 2013. It's 2017, I'm 23 years old, and nothing has changed since I first started doing this stuff, so... I love wrestling. I love all fronts of wrestling. I've explained my issues with Impact, personal and professional issues I've had with Impact over the years. I talk about my love for Lucha Underground. I talk about enjoying going to independent events like AEW. I enjoyed and had the privilege of covering a couple of Wrestle Kingdom events over the years. It's funny, you know, I'm just the WWE guy, but there was a time for 6 months, a couple years ago, that I did ROH, Lucha, and Impact all in one night. All 3 shows, all at one night. So we're talking about 4 or 5 hours between 3 different shows of content that's not WWE related. So if I really hated Ring of Honor or non-WWE companies, why would I spend more time covering those shows than I would the WWE weekly? I'm waiting. There were times where I had to pay money out of my own pocket to cover other Ring of Honor pay-per-views when I was supposed to be compensated by WrestleZone. Never happened? Oh well. Now you know why I'm not working there anymore. There's times I woke up in the morning, wee hours in the morning, had to buy New Japan World because, hey, everybody, Josh Lopez is a mule. Josh Lopez is an obsolete mule when it comes to articles because, hey, he's dependable, he's reliable, he'll do the work. We'll tell you, hey, Josh, we'll compensate you for Wrestle Kingdom. Just get the New Japan World and we'll be all fine. Nope. Another bash off my bank account that I never got anything back and covered New Japan. Wrestle Kingdom 9, Wrestle Kingdom 10. I love professional wrestling. That's why I'm doing this. That's why you're listening to this. We're all fans of professional wrestling. I love all wrestling. I do. I enjoy the UK work. I take great pleasure in covering the UK tournament that happened earlier this year because I was getting introduced to a lot of stars that I didn't know before that came from the UK independent scene. Just like I had a lot of fun covering the Cruiserweight Classic last year in doing my articles. I love in-ring wrestling. That's my thing. I like in-ring wrestling. Now, I think some of you may think this is weird because how do you like in-ring wrestling if you don't care about wins and loss records? At the end of the day, when we're watching professional wrestling, I think we all watch it to be entertained, right? At the end of the day, whether it's your guy that you're a fan of wins or not, we're here to watch a show for entertainment, to be an escape from reality. And that's always been my thought process behind watching wrestling. I never, not once, watched a show from a booker's perspective because A, I'm not a booker, and B, I'm not a Nimrod. In a couple weeks, we're going to be introducing a new segment on this podcast called the Nimrod Moment of the Week, where I'm going to take clips of certain favorite wrestling podcasts out there, and I'm just going to display the sheer, utter, gratuitous, and absolutely blasphemous statements that comes out of these shows, and this shows how ungrateful and selfish our fan base is in the world of professional wrestling. That's why I'm introducing the Nimrod Moment of the Week in a couple weeks, but we'll save that for another time in another episode. Back to this. I enjoy covering wrestling matches. One of my goals in life is to be a play-by-play commentator for the WWE. One of my goals is to be a wrestling announcer. So if I want to be a wrestling announcer, I would think you would have to learn the moves, right? I did an announcing seminar 2.5 years ago at AEW with a guy named Kevin Harvey. Some of you guys that listen to this may know Kevin Harvey. Kevin Harvey was a very well-known independent manager and also behind-the-scenes person for the Midwest area. He has his own promotion now called Rise, which is kind of a developmental league for Shimmer. And Kevin has a slew of other promotions that he works for. He still does work for AEW. And I did the seminar with Kevin. And it was my first time doing announcing. And they had a couple guys in the room. We would trade different places. We would change. One time you would be the play-by-play guy. The next guy you would have to be the color commentator. And I'll admit, I had my struggles out of the gate. I was so dedicated to just being a fan and enjoying the show for what it was. I wasn't really paying attention to what the actual moves were going on in the match. Like, we all know what certain moves look like, and you'll hear JR scream to the top of the rock bottom, the tombstone, the AA, the stutter, the pedigree, etc., etc., etc. We all know those moves, but you don't know what a hammer lock looks like. You don't know what a rear chin lock looks like. Hell, you probably don't even know what a fisherman's suplex looks like. Well, I'm kidding. This is wrestling. Everybody supposedly knows everything now, right? But the point is, what I took away from that seminar was that I had to start learning the moves and telling the story about that. Not a long time after that, I got the opportunity to start writing play-by-play articles for wrestling sites. And I stayed consistent with this since I started this back in 2014. My goal with those articles is to give you a complete transcription of what those shows are. I went to broadcasting school. I know the formats of a regular television show. And I think for the past 3 years, I've been getting a good education of the wrestling business from an on-air producing standpoint. Now, at the same time, I don't know the behind the scenes of what goes behind there. I don't. I've never been there. I don't act like I know what's going on. I don't know how it goes into booking decisions and why this happens or why that happens. I don't. I listen to podcasts. I listen to Bruce Pritchard's podcast and gain perspective for him because he's someone that actually did it. He was the right-hand man to Vince McMahon. Those are the people I listen to. I listen to people like Conan, who's been doing this for years. I listen to Bruce Pritchard, who's been doing this for years. I listen to my idol, JR, who's been doing this for years. And all my perspective I get from wrestling is for them, because they did it. I'd rather take their points of view, whether you want to call them shills or not. I'll take their perspective because they actually did it more than Brian Alvarez, who sounds like a 13-year-old girl. We all know about Meltzer Magoo, especially Wade Keller. I don't know what Wade Keller did to deserve a Pro Wrestling Journalist Hall of Fame award when I'm not even going to get that this week, man. I'm not in the mood to rant, but at the end of the day, I enjoy wrestling matches. I enjoy professional wrestling. I enjoy all professional wrestling. It's just some of the fan bases inside the business that takes the fun out of it. I enjoy New Japan. I do. I don't have the money to buy New Japan World every single month. I don't have money to pay for Ring of Honor pay-per-views all the time. And some of those fan bases are so entitled and so this over the top with their points of views. And if you don't say that Kenny Omega and Okada is the greatest match since sliced bread, oh, you're an a-hole. You're just a WWE shill. You're just a WWE mark. You don't know what you're talking about. I covered a match with AJ Styles and Shinsuke Nakamura 2 years ago that was 10 times better than both the matches of Kenny Omega and Okada. But hey, that's my opinion. I enjoy New Japan, and I want to make this perfectly clear. I don't want to attack all wrestling fans, because there's a lot of people like me that just like to enjoy the shows for what they are. My issue is when you're coming at me and telling me how things are like it's the gospel, especially with something involving professional wrestling, then I have an issue with you, because none of this is on the surface real at the end of the day. I know the action in the ring is real. I'm not going to be Vince Russo here. But people throwing their narratives and their bookie philosophies at my face like it's the gospel, I can't take you seriously like that. I can't. I never understand that mindset. But that's just me. I enjoyed New Japan, and this past Sunday, I took the opportunity to cover the show. There's a lot of matches on the show. I was looking forward to it, and I wanted to give it a shot. You know, I got this new site, ProWrestlingResults.wordpress.com, and I wanted to add some other content on there. I wanted to go back to covering the other wrestling shows that's not just the main roster stuff from the WWE. So I covered Dominion this past weekend, and I thought it was a good pay-per-view. I'm not a big Don Callis fan. I'm sorry, I'm not. I'd never seen the appeal for him. I wasn't even a fan of his when he was in ECW. Kevin Kelly's always been fine. I always enjoyed his work from a commentary standpoint. I thought the show was good. I felt a lot of the matches were just too long that overstayed its welcome. I really enjoyed the opening match, the 8-man tag match, which was really good, and then they followed up with the gauntlet match, which was fine. You had Cody Rhodes against Michael Elgin, which was really good. Cody won that one. Then we start going into the show where you have these massive brawls with Suzuki and Hiroki Goto. You had Tanahashi against Naito. Tanahashi's your new IWGP Intercontinental Champion, so congrats to him. That was a very good match from him and Naito, a rematch from Wrestle Kingdom earlier this year. You had so many matches that are so off the chain, man. The Young Bucks took on Roppongi Vice for the 6 millionth time on New Japan pay-per-view. You also had the heavyweight tag team title match, which I enjoyed even more than the Young Bucks match. War Machine against the Guerrillas of Destiny. That was a very good one. So congrats to Haku Sons. They're the brand new IWGP heavyweight tag team champions. So shout out to those guys because that match was really, really good. Now we're going to get to the meats and potatoes of the show, man. Kushida versus Takahashi is the best match I saw for New Japan so far this year. That was the best match in this show. It's not even close. Those guys killed it. Those guys are off the chain. I covered a couple of Takahashi matches when he appeared on Ring of Honor over the past years. And because at the same time, you know, I enjoy New Japan, and I think sometimes they kind of take advantage of Ring of Honor because Ring of Honor is kind of complacent with how they promote and market their programming. I'm just gonna be honest, but at the same time, I enjoy what New Japan does, and I think Kushida and Takahashi is a perfect example of why you should check out New Japan because you get matches like that. It's cool. Now we got the main event, Kenny Omega against Okada, the rematch for the IWGP Championship. And if you wanted to do the draw, cool. Perfectly fine. Nothing wrong with draws in wrestling. Not at all. My thing is the match didn't need to be an hour long. And once again, I don't think you need the Young Bucks to be literally up Kenny Omega's ass during matches. I didn't think the Bucks of Youth were needed for this match. I did it. So the match was great. I mean, anybody, even Stevie Wonder could figure out the match was off the chain. Hell, Ray Charles, you could roll him back up to Earth and he'll figure out that was a good match. Kenny Omega, Okada was a very good match. I thought their first one back in January was a little bit better than this one. I thought this match went a little bit too long, but they decided to go with the draw. It was fine. It is what it is. Okada is still your IWGP champion, but at the end of the day, go check out Dominion because I thought it was a very good show. And then lastly here, as we're going to wrap up this monologue, one of my other favorite things to do, besides covering WWE shows, is covering Lucha Underground. I've been having the distinct honor of covering every single episode Lucha Underground has posted on television since it debuted back in 2014. I've had a relationship with Lucha Underground as a fan and as a professional broadcaster as well, because I had a business relationship with Lucha Underground. I get their press releases. I've had a slew of people from Lucha Underground on my Pro Wrestling Experience show back in the day. And I love Lucha Underground. It's my favorite show that's not WWE related. Dario Cueto is the greatest authority figure in all professional wrestling today. I don't care what anybody else says. In my opinion, I think Dario Cueto is the best authority figure. But again, like I said back in the beginning of the show, you don't have to agree with me. My what I say on here on this show is just strictly my point of view. It's not the gospel, and you can believe that. So, yeah, man, Lucha Underground came back for their mid-season return a couple weeks ago, and it started off with a chain with the Johnny Mundo Mac all night long match for the Lucha Underground Championship. That ended in a draw. We had the second part of that match last week, and it finished with Johnny Mundo winning the match thanks to his new fiance, by the way, Taya, getting involved in the match. So congrats to Taya and former guest of the show, John Morrison, on their engagement, because that's pretty cool. So, yeah, Lucha Underground's back and it's kicking ass. Now we had the announcement of the Cueto Cup, which is going to be awesome. It's going to play a big factor at Ultima Lucha 3 later on this year. And, man, I can't wait to see what's going to happen, because tonight started the beginning of the Cueto Cup, so obviously I'll be covering that tournament on my website for the next couple of months, I guess. At the same time, we had the Lucha Underground Trios Championships on the line last week, and now we have new champions in Cobra Moon. Drago finally joined her faction with Vibra, and who else? I forgot the other guy's name in the faction, but that's a good act that Cobra Moon got. I'll say that. That's a very, very good group. At the same time, man, the main event, we had Prince Puma against Mil Muertes in a Boyle Heights street fight. These two have been fighting literally almost every single season since Lucha Underground debuted, and I don't have a problem with that. I don't. I mean, most of their matches are very entertaining and hard-hitting, so me personally, I don't have a problem with the Mil Muertes Prince Puma feud because it never ends, and every time they get back into the ring with each other, it gets better and better. But overall, man, I'm so happy Lucha Underground is back. Matt Striker and Vampiro are probably my favorite wrestling commentary team right now in 2017. I enjoy Lucha Underground, and I advise people to go out there and check out other forms of wrestling, but also check out the good ones, because there's so many other independent shows, and whatever your cup of tea is, at the end of the day, we should support all forms of wrestling, but don't come at me and say, oh, if you don't think this match is the match of the year, you're just this or that. I hate that point of view. And just because I have a different opinion than yours doesn't mean I'm this or that too at the same time. So yeah, that's the wrap up for this week's monologue. We're gonna get into this week's Monday Night Raw really quick. You hear comments from Samoa Joe. You can relive the first segment of that brawl between him and Brock Lesnar, which was a lot of fun. You can hear comments from R-Truth. His weekly response to Goldust's promos. And, we're going to cut back and talk about Raw from Lafayette, Louisiana a little bit. And then we'll continue on here on the Josh Lopez Wrestling Podcast.
What we've got here is a failure to communicate. Cool Hand Luke, 1967. But there was nothing cool about what you did to me, Goldust. Was it? You stabbed me in the back. Did you think I would let something like that slide? I don't forgive. And I don't forget. I get even. I'm mad as hell, and I'm not gonna take it anymore. Goldust, you gonna get got.
Show. What's up? Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's 2 weeks in a row, man. You saved me. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hey, listen. Before you go. Cass is big, dude. Big guy.
He's a big kid.
Said one blow took him down, bro, to the back of the head, man. For my peace of mind, dude, I gotta... He's a big guy, bro. One blow taking him down? 2 weeks you show up here. I'm just asking, man. I mean, peace of mind, you know what I'm saying?
Let me get this straight. 2 weeks in a row, I saved your little half-pint ass. Last week, this week, and you're gonna think, oh, wait a minute. Oh, I get it. It's not you. It's your partner, Cass, isn't it? Enzo, I got one word to describe your partner, and I'm gonna spell it out. S-A-W-F-T.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Paul Heyman, and I am here tonight to unleash the beast. Make no mistake about it,
It's Samoa Joe's day of reckoning, administered by the reigning, defending, undisputed Universal Champion, Brock Lesnar! Samoa Joe kicked down the front door of the lair of the beast. He put his hands on Brock's guy in Brock's name, which means now, Brock Lesnar has a problem. That problem is with Samoa Joe, and it's a problem that's going to be solved by the greatest problem solver in WWE history, Brock Lesnar. I'll give you credit, Samoa Joe. That coquina clutch was everything you warned me it was gonna be. I could not breathe. I saw a white flash, and as I was panicking and gasping my last breath, that was it. The next thing I know, they're waking me up. And when I woke up, the first thing I thought of was, oh dear God, what if Samoa Joe puts that coquina clutch on Brock Lesnar? What happens to the Universal Championship then? What happens to the Universal Champion? What happens to my client, Brock Lesnar? And then I realized, you will never get the coquina clutch on Brock Lesnar, because you ain't man enough to get the coquina clutch on Brock Lesnar. And if you do, I absolutely positively...
Samoa Joe. And Samoa Joe did not back down. And he went right after Lesnar. And here comes Joe. And the beast now. Driving Joe back into the corner. And the brawl is on.
This thing is breaking down in a hurry. Both of these competitors looking to destroy one another.
Not backing down, guys. General Manager Kurt Angle sending security out to the ring to separate these two men who meet in this main event. Let them fight. And Lesnar taking out the security. And now it's back to Joe and Brock again. And Joe's taking down the beast. Joe's taking down the beast.
Angle's calling for reinforcements. These two monsters going at it, we might need the army.
You get the entire Raw locker room. Raw superstars unloading and now into the arena to try to separate the champion and the challenger. Paul Heyman called it the worst case scenario, and it's shaping up that way. And Joe with a kick right to the face, and the beast is down. Samoa Joe with a kick right to the jaw of Lesnar.
Right now, Cole, I say advantage Samoa Joe.
And Lesnar's had enough.
Coming after
I think that just fired him up, guys. And Brock's coming right after Joe. Now into the middle of the pile. And Lesnar going after Samoa Joe again. And finally, some separation.
Joe, after colliding with Brock Lesnar earlier tonight, has that changed your strategy going into your Universal title match at Great Balls of Fire?
No, it changes nothing. In fact, they're playing right into my strategy. You see, this whole thing between me and Brock, it has never been about the words. It's been about the actions. Last week, Paul Heyman walked out without his client, and his actions were to show me that Brock Lesnar did not sweat me. And then his messenger proceeded to inform me of my impending doom. So my reaction is to send the messenger back with the same wounds that I plan to inflict on his master. And then tonight, Brock Lesnar walks out there in front of the Cajun Dome, the top of the show, to let everybody know that this is his house. My reaction is to walk down to the ring, stare Brock Lesnar in the eye, and let him know, let him feel exactly the man that he's going to go to battle with. And 4 weeks from now, Brock Lesnar will walk to that ring. And my reaction, I will walk down there too. I will stare him in the eye once again. I will lock him in the coquina clutch. I will put him to sleep. And I will become the new Universal Champion.
Again, everybody, if you'd like to be an advertiser of the Josh Lopez Wrestling Podcast, please send an email to joshlopezwwe94@gmail.com using the subject line advertising. So you heard comments from Big Show, you heard comments from Samoa Joe, you heard comments from R-Truth. We got to hear stuff from Paul Heyman at the beginning of the show this past Monday from the Cajun Dome in Lafayette, Louisiana. Raw was alright. Raw is getting ready for the Great Balls of Fire pay-per-view. We only have one match announced so far. That's obviously Brock Lesnar versus Samoa Joe. More matches will be announced in the coming weeks. Speaking of announcements, one of the big things that happened on this week's Raw was a video package for Roman Reigns. And supposedly coming up on this coming Monday's episode of Raw, Roman Reigns is going to make an announcement for his plans for SummerSlam this year. And that's conjured up a lot of conversation throughout social media of who's he going to call out. Is it something where he might possibly fight the winner of Samoa Joe or Brock Lesnar? That's kind of where I'm leaning with that announcement. But there's other people saying that he might call out Braun Strowman. Also, people said that it could possibly be him against John Cena because we have this new ad now with John Cena that says free agent on top, which is very interesting. And John Cena is one of those performers where you could market as a free agent. Hell, I would have Randy Orton marketed as a free agent. He's deserved that right. He doesn't have to be exclusive to any show. John Cena's going to be coming back on the July 4th edition of the Down and Smack. And that's going to be a lot of fun. Do I think Roman Reigns is going to fight John Cena at SummerSlam this year? No. Would I like to see Roman Reigns versus John Cena? Absolutely. I just think Roman Reigns versus John Cena is a WrestleMania match. I'm sorry, everybody from the internet, come after me, send your hate tweet at Notorious Joshy. I don't care. I think Roman Reigns and John Cena would be a very, very interesting program. And it would get. You want to talk about box office and making money? Because this is what we're talking about at the end of the day. Box office, making money at the end of the day. Look, go back to what I said last week about ratings. Everybody's like, oh, look at the ratings. Ratings affecting this, ratings affecting that. I don't think so. And by the way, speaking of ratings, guess what was number one on cable this past Monday? Even though the Golden State Warriors won the NBA Finals this past Monday, huh? Guess what? It's everybody's least favorite wrestling show, Monday Night Raw, ranked number one in cable and ranked number two in the 18 to 49 demographic. I guess I would call that a good night, right? So going back to this Roman Reigns announcement, I see two things happening here. Either A, he's going to call out the winner of the Brock Lesnar Samoa Joe match because this is his yard and he can do whatever he wants. I mean, hell, look at his Twitter, man. He's even calling out Nimrods and Young Club members now. It's pretty funny, actually. Give him a follow at WWE Roman Reigns. He's either going to say that, he's going to challenge the winner of the match at Great Balls of Fire, or I have a feeling somebody will come out and attack him or something. And honestly, I'll throw this out there, because this guy's name hasn't been mentioned enough recently. You think there's any chance we see Braun Strowman come out and we have the conclusion to this feud between him and Roman Reigns at either Great Balls of Fire or SummerSlam? I mean, either way, this is a good marketing tool to get people hooked into next week's show because we don't know what's on Roman's mind. He wasn't on the show this week, which is fine. I said this before, you don't need every major star on every single weekly edition of television. at the end of the day, most of these weekly editions of Raw and SmackDown are not worthless, but at the same time, they're just plot points. We're on this never-ending plot point journey to a next pay-per-view event. So you have weekly editions of television that maybe want to get you convinced to watch the show. I always had this feeling like if you're not interested in the card by the time that the pay-per-view comes, something else that you really need to add on to it, because obviously you made your opinion on that. And most of these builds to the shows now are just mute points. Because we know what the matches are most of the time for these pay-per-views, even before the go-home show for those particular pay-per-views. So, yeah, man, whatever happens with Roman Reigns next week, we'll see what happens. Roman Reigns, man, that guy is killing it on Twitter, though. I have to say that again, because I was looking at some of the tweets yesterday, I was crying laughing for a good 20 minutes, so shout out to the big Oos out there. Other stuff on the show, man, again, for the third straight week, Titus brand, it's going to be lit. Now we have Akira Tozawa added to the mix, which is fine. By the way, shout out to Tozawa and TJP, who had a very good main event last night on 205 Live. Yeah, so you have Akira Tozawa joining the Titus brand. I think that'd be pretty cool. Also, you had the segment between Bray Wyatt and Seth Rollins, which I thought was interesting. People were like, I don't know what Bray Wyatt was saying. He said it before he came to the ring. The whole point of that promo and where they're going here with this angle between Bray Wyatt and Seth Rollins is that the ignorance, that humanity is guilty for mistaking happiness with arrogance and ignorance. Humanity is guilty for putting on a facade. Humanity is guilty for putting an act on, obviously. He's basically saying that Seth Rollins is a facade. He thinks Seth Rollins is too arrogant for his own good. He thinks Seth Rollins is ignorant. He thinks Seth Rollins is trying to cloud the mindset of the common man and the common woman and the common child. So I got what he was saying. Maybe it's because I was actually transcribing the promo and I was actually paying attention to what he said. There's a lot of times when you're watching a wrestling show and people say they're paying attention to the show like hardcore fans say they think they do, but are they? Because, you know, everybody likes to point out plot holes and stuff at wrestling. Yeah, are they actually paying attention to what he said? I mean, rewatch that promo all the way from when he was on the Titantron when he went back to the ring. He was very consistent with his points on there, so I don't know where the confusion was. Bray Wyatt and Seth Rollins is different, so I'm all for that. Obviously, these guys could put on a good match with each other. So I guess this is the program for Great Balls of Fire, which is fine. I wonder what's going to happen next for Finn Balor, because he hasn't been on the show for the last 2 weeks. By the way, Miz again is killing it with this bear stuff with Dean Ambrose. I thought it was pretty funny. The freaking bear, man. It's too much. The women. Hey, color me shocked, everybody. We have another women's title segment, and we have Sasha Banks involved with it. Color me shocked. Alexa Bliss, man, I don't get it, man. She has that like sex appeal that you can't really describe what it is, but it's not how tall she is or anything like that. Obviously, she's sexy and hot. It's one of those things where you see a girl like that and you can't just depict how accurate and how big her sex appeal is. Like I'll admit, man, as much as I love Mickey, seeing Alexa Bliss on my screen is amazing. Alexa Bliss, her in-ring work is getting better. We all know how good she is on the mic. I'm saying that her sex appeal just grows and grows as the weeks go by, man. Mamma mia. And then we have this stuff going on with Big Cass and Enzo and Big Show now. It looks like Big Show's going to fight Cass soon, which should be very interesting. The Revival looks to be the ones that attacked Enzo and Cass, so we'll get into that program probably at SummerSlam. At the same time, man, like, the Raw Tag Team division is going well. I mean, you have Matt and Jeff and the Hardys going against Cesaro and Sheamus in the main event of Raw this week. So, you wouldn't say you wouldn't have interest in the division if you're putting the Hardys and the Sheamus Cesaro as the main event in the 2 out of 3 Falls match. Now, I know the match ended a double count up, but still, my point remains. When you're giving a tag team title match the main event of the show, obviously people actually care about that at the end of the day. So overall, I thought Raw was fine. The Brawl stuff with Joe and Brock Lesnar was a lot of fun, as everybody said. And we'll see what happens. More and more these weeks go by, it'll be closer to that Great Balls of Fire pay-per-view on the WWE Network. All right, we're going to take our next break here, and you're going to hear comments from Stephanie McMahon, Carmella, Becky Lynch. You'll also hear the rerun of the Fashion Files from last night's edition of the Down to Smack from New Orleans. And you'll also hear the return of Zack Ryder. We'll be right back. We'll talk about SmackDown Live and finish things off with my predictions for Money in the Bank this Sunday on the WWE Network.
Stephanie, this Sunday, the first ever women's Money in the Bank ladder match. Talk to us about what your reaction was when you heard that announcement.
Well, even though the announcement was on SmackDown, and even though it was my brother Shane making it, I have to say, all I felt was pride and excitement that there is going to be a first ever women's Money in the Bank ladder match.
Stephanie, you mentioned pride and excitement, and actually proud to participate is what we've heard from a lot of the women. What are they thinking going into this match this Sunday?
Oh, with these 5 women in particular, I know that all of them hold themselves to such a high standard, and this being the first ever women's Money in the Bank ladder match, I bet the bar that they've set for themselves is really high. I think they're feeling a lot of pressure. I think they're all probably incredibly nervous, but I have no doubt that they are going to over-deliver just like they do every other time.
And Stephanie, over the last year and a half, we've seen a lot of first evers when it comes to the women, with this being the first ever women's Money in the Bank ladder match. What's next in terms of first evers for the women?
So we've seen the first ever women's Iron Man match on NXT TakeOver. We saw the first ever women's Hell in a Cell match, which was Monday Night Raw, for the record. And now we're going to see the first ever women's Money in the Bank ladder match. I think what's next would have to be the first ever WrestleMania main event match.
Carmella, this Sunday you'll be in historic first time ever women's Money in the Bank ladder match. What was your reaction when you heard you'd be a participant?
When I heard that news, honestly, I was just so excited to be a part of the very first women's Money in the Bank match. It's exciting, it's scary, it's a little overwhelming, a lot of pressure. Obviously, this is the first time, so everyone's going to remember it, but I thrive on the pressure, so I'm so excited for it.
There's a lot of reaction on social media, comments from anyone from Mick Foley to Lita, just congratulating you girls about making history, even prior to it happening. What does it make you feel when you hear stuff like that?
It's honestly an honor to be a part of the very first, because there will never be another first match like this. So for all of them to be so excited about it, I mean, the pressure's on, like I said, so we have to deliver. But going into it, I think all of us are ready to steal the show.
What's been some of the reactions of either some of your fellow superstars or even some of the other women in the match after you guys found this out?
Well, I think some of the women may look at me and underestimate me a little bit. You know, I have not been a champion before, but that's just adding fuel to my fire. I have a lot to prove. I think every girl in that match has a lot to prove, but I think I have the most. So I'm really going to thrive off that pressure, and I just cannot wait to see the looks on their faces when I grab that briefcase and shove it in their face.
And lastly, taking back to the WWE draft, where you were drafted from SmackDown, previously at NXT. Take us through from that moment to here and just talk about a little bit that journey and your expectations and have they exceeded?
Gosh, it's been so amazing, overwhelming, exciting. I don't have any other words to describe it. It's to be, again, I was the last draft pick. And so I think, again, that's just fuel to my fire. People underestimate me maybe because I'm small or because I haven't been here for years or I hadn't wrestled years before I got here. But I'm so excited to just prove to everybody, like, I have it in me. I can do this. Yes, it's going to be really hard and grueling on our bodies, on our minds, and I'm ready for it, and I cannot wait to prove to everybody that I have this in me, because once I get that briefcase, I will become a champion and, you know, make history.
Best of luck to you this Sunday.
Thank you.
Excuse me, Mojo? Last week you faced WWE Champion Jinder Mahal for the opportunity to be added to the Money in the Bank ladder match. You had some impressive moments, but ultimately came up short. Where do you go from here?
Well, first and foremost, Dasha, I got to thank Shane McMahon. Last week I asked for an opportunity. He gave it to me, and I came up short. You know, that's on me. I own that. But Jinder Mahal, man, he's a fierce competitor, and he's definitely a different dude than the guy I beat 2 months ago. But that being said, to answer your question, a loss like last week is devastating. You know, I've been beating myself up over it nonstop all week. But to be honest with you, it's kind of a small part of me that's glad that I lost. Because I know how I handled adversity. And I know how I bounced back from defeat. And I know that I'm going to take last week's loss and I'm going to use it as a springboard to up my game in the future. Because the best of Mojo Rawley is yet to come.
Broski, what's going on, man?
I'm back, bro. Hey, great match last week. Nothing to be ashamed of. You and I, we've got some unfinished business as a team.
Yeah, hype bros, baby.
How you been?
Okay.
I've been watching it.
Becky, this Sunday you compete in a historic first ever women's Money in the Bank ladder match. Talk to us about what your first reaction was when you heard you were a participant.
So there's a lot of things that go through your mind when you find out that you are going to be in a ladder match, because it is one of the most brutal matches that you can possibly have. But my goal ever since I started with WWE has always been to prove that we can do everything just as well and better than the guys can, and that we can be such an attraction that gets people so emotionally involved, and to be out there and hear the response from the crowd and know how excited that they are makes me know that I'm doing my job, and that this women's division is doing their job. And then it's the opportunity to show once again why you are the best. And that's what this is all about. It's all about competition. It's all about being the best. And this is just another symbol to show that I am the best.
Talk to us a little bit about when you started your career, and obviously outside of NXT and WWE, and now to this moment. Is this something you ever envisioned that you'd be participating in?
So yes, it is something that I envisioned myself participating in, but there was times that I didn't think that this was possible. I left this business for 7 years because I thought that there was no point, that there was no way that this was going to happen. But there was something in me that always said, you have to do this, and that you are meant to do this. And I feel, and as corny as this might sound, that this is my calling. And to be in yet another historical women's match is just, it's everything that I envisioned since the moment I first stepped into a ring back in this tiny little school hall in Bray, County Wicklow in Ireland. And to be able to do that now in St. Louis and have the first ever women's Money in the Bank ladder match, it's incredible. It's incredible, and I'm so happy to be a part of it. But beyond being happy to be a part of it, I need to win it. I need to win it.
Whether it's the superstars, the female superstars on Raw, or legends who have commented on social media, all eyes will be on you on Sunday. Does that put pressure on you and the other women to perform at your very highest this Sunday?
Do you know what? Yes, it does, but I love it. Yeah, so I love the pressure. And whether it's this match or any other match that I do, I always put that amount of pressure that whatever match I do, I want to hook people in. Like, how do I make this match better than the last match? How do I get more people supporting us and supporting me and supporting what we're doing? And with every single match, it's about proving why you need to go to the next level. And this is proof why we are going to the next level and then higher. And then we'll keep climbing that ladder. Like, figuratively and physically, we're going to keep climbing that ladder.
And lastly, first ever SmackDown Women's Champion. What would it mean to add first ever Women's Money in the Bank contract holder?
Oh, that would mean everything. Oh, it sounds so good. Miss Money in the Bank. Becky Lynch, Miss Money in the Bank. Hashtag Becky got back. Hashtag Becky got back. It's fitting. First SmackDown Women's draft pick. First SmackDown Women's Champion. Miss Money in the Bank.
Best of luck this Sunday.
Oh my God, Becky, look at that bank. It is so big. Looks like one of those brick house money places. We'll work on that. Thank you, appreciate it.
My old man used to tell me, stop playing with those dolls. But he also said, there's no way to win, just ways to lose more slowly. Well, tonight, my partner and I scored one for the good guys. Wrong again, Dad. It was time to celebrate, but I still had a bad taste in my nose. I know what you're thinking. My pecs do look great. Can't wait to show them off with my main man Breezy and the Big Easy. That rhymed. Where is he anyways? What is he doing? Where are you, Breeze?
Breeze. Hey! What are you doing on the floor, man?
I got attacked.
Attacked?
Yeah.
By who?
Well, there's two hideous monsters.
Describe them to me. Describe them to me. Think real hard.
Greasy hair.
Greasy hair. Okay.
Super dry skin.
Dry skin, ugh.
They had one arm.
One arm?
No, two arms.
Two arms?
Yeah.
What do you think about this right here? Does this ring a bell? Does that ring a bell?
That's them.
That's them, huh?
Yeah.
Come on, I think
It's exactly them.
We solved the case, my friend. Come on. Pull yourself together.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to finish off this podcast off with a bang. We're going to start off with the predictions, yes, for Money in the Bank. Yes, the bank of the money, or the money that's in the banks. Any more broken Matt Hardy puns I could come up with? I don't know. All right, here we go. We're going to start off these really hot Usos. New Day for the SmackDown Tag Team titles. I'm going to go with the Usos to retain those bad boys. Maybe be a DQ type of scenario. You kind of think about this too, guys. We have Battleground left. That's the last pay-per-view event before SummerSlam. That's going to be a SmackDown exclusive show. So don't expect clean finishes besides the Money in the Bank ladder matches, because we have a SmackDown pay-per-view to build after this one. So Battleground will be happening in July. So just want to throw that out there. Also, we have, of course, Jinder Mahal, the modern day Maharaja. Yeah, man. Jinder Mahal versus Randy Orton for the WWE Championship. I am going with Jinder to retain because, hey, ladies and gentlemen, you can't hinder the Jinder. Believe that. Also, I think Naomi will retain her SmackDown Women's Championship against Lana. I think Lana will have a very impressive outing. Lana always has an impressive outing because it's Lana. I mean, Lana is best for business. Best believe that. I love Naomi too. She's awesome as well. But Naomi will retain her SmackDown Women's Championship, in my opinion. At the same time, going into these Money in the Bank ladder matches, I'm going with Becky Lynch to win the SmackDown Women's Championship. No, I think Becky Lynch is going to win the Money in the Bank ladder match for the SmackDown Women's Division. That match is going to be sick. I won't be upset if Charlotte wins because everybody knows my opinions on Charlotte. Hell, she's my freaking screen lock picture on my iPhone. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding about that. Just throwing it out there. I'm kidding about that. But anyways, Becky Lynch. Yeah, I think Becky will win the Money in the Bank ladder match. It's going to be a fun match. And then finally, the men's Money in the Bank ladder match. We're going to finish off with the Bank Boys. I'll go with Baron Corbin. I think Baron Corbin will win the Money in the Bank ladder match coming up on Sunday. I don't see Dolph Ziggler winning. I don't see Kevin Owens winning. I think it's too early for Nakamura. If you want to throw me AJ Styles, cool. If you want to do Sami Zayn, fine. It's a shocker. That's fine. But either way, this match is going to be sick. It's going to be fun. I can't wait to cover it. But that match is going to be a lot of fun. So that's going to be Money in the Bank coming up this Sunday from St. Louis, Missouri on Father's Day. So that's going to be pretty cool. Money in the Bank pay-per-views are always a lot of fun. I'll be covering that show on my wrestling results blog page, prowrestlingresults.wordpress.com. Bookmark that page. Go check out the Tupac movie, by the way, this weekend. That's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to that. We got the Puerto Rican Parade coming up this weekend here in Chicago. A lot of things going on at that end. Thank God the NBA playoffs are over with because this is the worst season of basketball I've ever seen in my entire life. And ladies and gentlemen, we're going to finish it off with a bang. Also want to give a shout out to a couple of guys from the podcasting world that I look up to and good peeps. Shout out to James D'Lo for Gorilla Position. He's the man, period. Hopefully we can have James on the show sometime soon. Also, shout out to Rosenberg. He did a great job of bringing it to the table as always, so shout out to Rosenberg. Shout out to the good brother, Stat Guy Greg. Shout out to everybody from the NAI Network who are good brothers and sisters like Ant, G-Rod, B-Rob, Matt, Jason, Liam, Bill, etc., etc., etc. Thank you guys for letting me be part of the network. Shout out to Brother Carter. Shout out to you guys for being supporters of this podcast. You can subscribe to the Josh Lopez Wrestling Podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, and YouTube. Leave an honest review of the shows on all platforms right there. That's all I ask. If you leave a review on the podcast and screenshot it, send it to me at Notorious Joshi. I'll give you a retweet and I'll give you a shout out on air. I promise I will do that. We'll be back here next week to review Money in the Bank. It'll be a lot of fun. Like I said, if you have any more questions or anything you want to know about this podcast, just send me a tweet at Notorious Joshi. I'll be on the Pipeline with McCool & Company later on this week, as always, on the New Age Insiders Network. And we'll be back here next week on the Josh Lopez Wrestling Podcast. Love you guys. Don't forget, the sky's the limit, and tomorrow's not guaranteed. Peace.